AliExpress is home to your favorite brands like Tupri, Zito, and Bowie. I got a lot of tools. Let's start with these cable cutters. The reason that I ordered these is that the last set of cable housing cutters that we tested, well, they just folded cables in half. But these were $5.16. These are dramatically more expensive. Housing cutters are for cutting cable housing. It's where the actual brake cable or shift cable goes through. Here's an expensive set. Should just cut pieces off. Let's see if these ones from AliExpress do. This is shift cable, brake cable. These work fairly well. So what's the good and the bad here? First, the good, it appears the additional $3.78 made all the difference. These are 1,000 times better than the last ones. The spring is even attached way better. They just fell out of the other ones. It's got nice rubber handles, and they don't seem like the type where the rubber is just gonna fall off and stop working. I don't know how these would work long term, but by the looks of it, they're not really marred up from cutting that cable. I think these would serve you well in your shop, but they're not perfect. Now, these, when you're hanging them up or you're putting them in your toolbox, you wanna be able to keep them closed. And so most of them, even the cheap one, have a way to stay closed. The Park Tool ones have a little metal piece in the end and it hooks on and it keeps it closed. These ones have this little latch here that doesn't work. Yeah, you can see when you flip this closed, it's supposed to kind of catch there. If you really push it down, you can get it to latch and then they stay closed. Could that just be this particular set and the rest of them work? Yeah, it could be, but I bet it's more likely that every single one of these has that same problem in whatever batch it was. I bet it's easy to fix though. Let's try and bend it. So we have to bend this hook down. Let's see if we can make that happen. There we go. That was an easy fix. So with that little issue solved, I kind of like these. Now, similar products are normally 25 to 50 bucks, but mileage is gonna vary in terms of quality. But for $8.94, I'd say this is gonna be a pretty good addition to a home mechanic's bike shop. Next, we're gonna test this wrench, which is made for bottom bracket bearings. It's made by Zito, and it's $8.60. That seems kind of steep. We already tested this bottom bracket wrench, which costs $3.53, and for that, it comes with a chain whip, but I left something out. This one has 4 different sizes on it. It's got 39, 44, 40.5, and 46, all in the same wrench. Just so happens that I have to replace the bottom bracket bearing on my dirt jumper, so let's pull it off. First, we're gonna use our AliExpress hex wrenches to pull the crank. I'm guessing because this is aluminum and the machining seems pretty smooth, it's not gonna scratch the bearing. As you remember, this one's made of steel and it's pretty gnarly on the edges there. It's gonna scratch anything it touches. Let's see if this one does better. Okay, fits on there kind of nicely, but so far I have one complaint already. Because it has these 4 sizes in it, these are really shallow and it just kind of makes it on there. And I'm afraid that if I apply a lot of torque, which is gonna be difficult with this little tiny handle, it's gonna slip off and just scratch something up anyway. But let's see. So I'm gonna be really careful to kind of hold it in place. No problem. Okay, that appeared to work just fine. It didn't leave any scratches on the bearing, and you have 4 sizes here. And so the fact that it's not ideal, I don't know, you're getting a lot of value for one tool. Now, like the other one we tested, there is not a lot of leverage here. And this bearing, for example, is 25 foot-pounds it's asking for. This is like 6 inches. And so, yeah, I guess you'd have to put 50 pounds of force on the end of this wrench in order to tighten a bearing down properly. Not ideal, but most adults could do that. It also has another little bonus in it. On the end, you can unscrew this little plastic piece and you have one of those little Shimano cap tools. I suppose you could also stick another tool into this tube to get a little bit more leverage. Now, I have other tools like this one. For example, this Wheels manufacturing tool over here has 2 sizes and it works with a 1/2-inch ratchet. It's much nicer, it's much deeper, the machining's better, but it also costs a lot more. With this one, you're getting double the sizes for $8.60. Yeah, if you're a home mechanic, I don't think you could really go wrong with this. Pretty good little tool for the money. From our friends at Tupri, we've got ourselves a torque wrench right here. So this is designed for tightening fasteners down to a specific torque. For example, rotor bolts are normally 6 Newton meters. Oftentimes the clamp on your stem will be 5.5. And this little tool kind of flexes to give you your torque reading over here with this little pin. Now I've seen units like this actually come with bicycles, so you can put them together out of the box and not over tighten stuff. I have a variety of torque wrenches here. They're all very good and they're all a lot pricier. Normally you attach a socket or something to it, you set your torque, and then you push it down until it kind of clicks, and that's how you know you got it to the right torque. With this one, you gotta keep an eye on the torque reading over here. I wouldn't use it for anything super mission critical, but let's see how accurate it is. So we're gonna test this by tightening these 2 bolts on my stem clamp to 5 Newton meters, and then we'll check them with another torque wrench. Okay, that says it's at 5. So we'll test it with this guy. This is a little bit pricier, but we can assume it's accurate. We can turn it to 5, and let's see if there's any daylight between what we just did with the Tupri one. So this should slip when it gets to 5. Okay, so we definitely tightened it to 5, at least. The question is, did we tighten it more than 5? Well, we can test that. We can turn this up to 5.5 and see if it allows us to tighten the bolt more. Let's see this one. No, that was tightened to more than 5.5. Let's try turning it up to 6. That's not good. So, not exactly accurate. That is assuming this one's accurate. I'm gonna try it one more time, and I'm gonna use my big, expensive torque wrench, and we're gonna see how it works. So we're gonna loosen and retighten these with our Tupri torque wrench. We still have our 4 in here. Tighten them down. So we're gonna put them down to 5. There's 5. See if I did it better this time. So let's see where this lands us. Yeah, it's like 5.5. It gets you close enough. I mean, 1 Newton meter is not really gonna make or break anything. The main thing is you wanna get all the bolts even. Even on carbon, it would probably be okay. And again, you're not gonna be able to use this for like crank arms or anything like that. It's just not big enough. It's a torque driver. But what is nice is everything's self-enclosed. You have a whole bunch of bits. You can get your torque kind of close enough for something simple, and you can use it for travel. They include torque wrenches like this with bikes brand new in the box. And so I guess bike companies have determined they're accurate enough for people to put their bikes together with. This guy here costs $7.85. Pretty strange looking contraption. What does this do? It's a cable puller, colloquially known as a third hand. They call it a third hand because when you're trying to pull a cable, you're kind of holding on to the thing the cable's attached to and then pulling it. And then how are you going to tighten down the bolt? You don't have a free hand. This one allows you to do part of the job by just squeezing it. Let's try it on these cable actuated disc brakes. We just have to position it behind the cable over here. See, it clamps down on the cable, and then the other part of the tool rests there, and now you can squeeze it and adjust how much you want to pull the cable, and then your other hand is free to tighten the little bolt. Hey, this works. Like other cable pullers, this has a locking feature, and so it's actually like having 4 hands. You can pull the cable exactly to where you want, and then flip this little guy over here, and then the tool just kind of stays there and retains tension on the cable. So you can operate another wrench, or you can test it out before you tighten it down. Really cool, does everything I would expect from a third hand, but I have some complaints. So I've got another third hand right here. I've had this well over a decade. It's from Ice Tools, and it blows this one away. It's so much better in so many ways. I'll give you a few specific examples. First of all, that little locking mechanism right here is way more accurate. There was all sorts of play in this one, and when I would try to lock it into place, it would sort of loosen up the cable. Kind of a minor complaint because you could just hold it still, but it's worth noting. Also, this one operates so much smoother, and when you're trying to make it literally a third hand, You don't wanna have to try and use your other hand to make the tool work. Look, when I squeeze this, it just opens up, it releases the cable, everything operates really nice and smoothly. With the AliExpress one, it sort of doesn't open back up all the way, and then in order to get it to release the cable, I have to push it. Maybe we could put some WD-40 on it, bang on it with a hammer. I don't know. It should kind of work right out of the box. I would imagine the operation of each individual tool is gonna vary based on which one you happen to get. Quality control kind of goes out the window when you're just trying to compete on the basis of sense with each tool. It works, it does the job, it's better than just having two hands, but I find the not very smooth operation of it to be pretty annoying when I'm trying to use it to save myself from having to fiddle with things. I wanna be able to just use one hand to grab the cable and pull it. And so for that reason, I think I would put this in kind of the annoying category. Is it worth $7.85? Yeah, probably, and I don't know, you could probably mess with it and get it to work. As for our Trek Marlin over here, the shifting is just in a sad state back here. I'm gonna use this bike to demonstrate our next tool from Tupri, a derailleur hanger alignment gauge. These are usually kind of expensive, and this one is $21.61. I saw pictures of it, but for some reason, this is not what I was expecting. This looks like a really expensive derailleur hanger alignment gauge. It appears to be pretty nice. I don't see why it wouldn't work. There's several other things in this box. You gotta kind of put it together. Okay, we've got the adjustment screw. We've got these little handle guys over here. They even give you the tool to put it together. Here's the gauge itself. Wow, this is heavy. Even this little set screw over here has a piece of nylon on the end so that it doesn't scratch the shaft. I mean, this looks legit. Now we're gonna test it in a moment, but I can already see one potential issue. This shaft over here wiggles back and forth, and that would change the distance of this gauge from the wheel. That could be problematic. Yeah, it's a $20 derailleur hanger alignment gauge, but man, it seems nice. Let's see if it's all it's cracked up to be. Our derailleur hanger is this little aluminum part right over here, and it has to be in alignment for the bike to shift properly. You can replace it for like $30 these days, but you could also bend the existing one back quite a few times before you have to replace it. So this part of the tool is gonna thread into our derailleur hanger just like the derailleur would. And then this little probe over here measures the distance of the derailleur hanger alignment gauge from the wheel. So we choose a reference point and we keep checking it on the north, south, east, and west axis and bending it back into place as required to get it perfectly straight. Right off the bat, the play in this thing is honestly kind of disappointing. A lot of my excitement for this tool is kind of fading away as I'm using it. It is not performing like I had hoped, but I do think you might be able to get a derailleur hanger back in alignment for this. Wow, this is really kind of difficult because it moves all around. I think we're good on the north and south. I think this derailleur hanger is in alignment. Let's see if we can get everything shifting right now. So it's worth noting this chain is kind of mangled. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it in another video, but it appears our derailleur hanger is back in alignment and the rest of the shifting issues are because of a completely mangled chain. But we got the derailleur hanger straight again with some difficulty. I gotta be perfectly honest with you about this tool. I was super excited about it for 21 some odd dollars. And then it really kind of stressed me out to use because it's moving all over the place, it's twisting. It's just like when you move it to the other side of the wheel, you kind of want everything to stay put. I mean, isn't the whole point of a gauge to be accurate? So for the $21.61 this thing cost us, I can't really complain about it. Might be a good addition to some people's shops. Looks legit, but it's actually a piece of shit. Now suppose we wanted to cut down the handlebars on that bike evenly on both sides. We could mark it and then use a hacksaw, or like so many of you suggest every time you see me use a hacksaw, we could use a pipe cutter, also from our friends at Tupri. So let's see what we have here, $8.44. Now, the reason I often use a hacksaw is A, you can't cut carbon with one of these. This is only for aluminum, brass, steel, stuff like that. And also it tends to leave kind of a burr on the end of the cut. So does the hacksaw, but less so. Now what you do is you line it up to where you want to cut. This is a pair of scrap handlebars, you could call it. You tighten it down, and then there's this little cutting wheel over here. And you can actually turn it around and it'll score it. You can see there's a little line there where we turned it around. Then you tighten it down a little bit more and the score gets deeper. Now you keep spinning it around until it gets easy, and you can keep tightening it with this little thing on the end. Now, one reason that I bought this is my pipe cutter blew into a million pieces. It was almost 20 years old. That makes me feel old. This one appears to operate about as smoothly as that one did. I don't know if it's gonna last me 20 years, but appears to be working just fine on this handlebar. So we were able to make the cut with some difficulty. It ended up being pretty thick, and the edge is kind of nasty over here. That's to be expected. You have to file it down. Now, the way this is listed on AliExpress is aluminum alloy MTB fork pipe cutter tool, handlebar seat post bike repair tool for cutting and shortening the seat post. And then on the box over here, it says refrigeration tool. So they're definitely doing some little marketing magic over there, but it appears to be good for that type of thing. I don't know about the quality of the cutting wheel. It looks like it really took a beating from that one cut, but that's a consumable anyway, and you have to replace it on these pipe cutters. The operation is pretty smooth, actually. These are some of the best threads that I've ever experienced on AliExpress. Now, $8.44 is a pretty good price, but it's not like spectacular. You can go to Harbor Freight and get a pipe cutter for I think like $15. There's lots of $9 and $10 pipe cutters on Amazon. So this is not an extraordinary deal, but it appears to work for what it's worth, and honestly better quality than a lot of other stuff that I found on AliExpress. I guess this is my new pipe cutter. Now the linkage on this rear suspension is kind of rough because the bearings are beat to heck, and we got to replace them. Now that can get kind of expensive because unless you want to use a hammer and a screwdriver, which a lot of people do, and that's fine, you need bearing presses, a whole bunch of different sizes of them, and it can get expensive. Unless you get this bearing press with a whole bunch of different sizes for $30. Boom! Look at that. And then there's a whole bunch more sizes right on here. Ooh. Maybe that's the smoothest thread ever on AliExpress. Now, $30 sounds steep for anything on AliExpress, but these are normally hundreds and hundreds of dollars for all these different sizes, extractors and presses. No wonder that a lot of people end up using a screwdriver and a hammer. 6801. This is designed especially for the bearing that's in the linkage of that Specialized. Now, it's worth noting this doesn't appear to come with extractors, but yeah, it's got bearing presses and we'll be able to do that one. Word of caution, they've got me a couple of times on AliExpress because when you first load the page, the picture you see is not necessarily what you have selected. Check it out. They have this bearing kit displayed here with this beautiful box with everything all laid out, and the option that's selected is no box. Now, if you switch between these images, just like any other e-commerce site you've ever been on, it shows the price and it shows the picture of what you're getting. But then they default to something different. They've gotten me a few times. I ordered a drivetrain one time and I got a chain. And then you do AliExpress customer service, which is, it's great. Am I doing that right? Is that how you use the bearing extractor that it says it comes with in the description? Now, forgive me, maybe I'm a complete idiot and I'm missing something here. I don't know everything. Can somebody please tell me how I extract the bearing with this? Like, I'm looking over here and it says bicycle accessory, bearings extractor, installation tool, wheels hub, bike bearings press set, BB, axis soft tail frames press tool. It says extractor in there, so I would assume it comes with an extractor. I have bearing extractors and none of them look like this. These look like bearing presses. So that's kind of inaccurate, but for $30, I'm not really gonna complain. How do we know it's a 6801 bearing? Actually says it right on the little red seal over here if you look closely. So we can see this is labeled 6801, fits right on there. And so now we can insert our press, we can put our shaft through, then we can slide on our bearing over here and we can just press it on. And now our bearing is pressed in very gently and nicely. So what do we make of this product? Unless there's an extractor somewhere that I'm completely missing, it appears that it does not come with an extractor and it says it does. But besides that, as a bearing press, it's kind of as good as it gets. I mean, these are nice little machined aluminum parts. They're clearly labeled. The finish is kind of nice. Kind of digging the baby blue anodized color. I don't know if we have anything big enough for like headset cups or anything like that, but for linkage, this would be really good. Overall, for $30, I am very impressed with this. I think any home bike mechanic who wants to do their own linkage bearings should probably have this, and several sockets so that you can actually extract the bearings. So you did see me using these hex wrenches today. These are some of my favorite hex wrenches, and I got them on AliExpress in the first video we did. And since then, I've found a lot of tools that I actually really like. I've also found a lot of tools that just didn't work, but we're gonna keep buying tools from AliExpress and we're gonna keep testing them. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you learned something, and if you didn't, I hope you at least found this entertaining. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.